At its peak, Toys R Us controlled 25% of the U.S. toy market. Every child in America knew its name. It closed every store anyway. Private equity loaded Toys R Us with $5 billion in debt and left it with no money to fight back. Amazon and Walmart just finished what that debt started. When the last stores closed in 2018, 33,000 workers received zero severance. Executives received $16 million in bonuses. This is the story of how a beloved retail institution was bought, loaded with unpayable debt, starved of investment, and then abandoned. And who collected the money? Charles Lazarus founded the company in 1948 in Washington, D.C. He added toys, renamed it Toys R Us in 1957, and took it public in 1978. By the 1990s, Toys R Us dominated American toy retail. 1,500 stores globally, $11 billion in revenue, 25% of the U.S. market. In the 1990s, Walmart and Target expanded aggressively into toys, selling below cost as a loss leader. Toys R Us couldn't match prices without losing money. By 1998, Toys R Us's market share had already declined significantly. The company recognized it needed a digital strategy and began building an online store. In 2000, Toys R Us signed a deal with Amazon, exclusive toy seller on Amazon's platform. In exchange, it shut down its own e-commerce development. Amazon violated the exclusivity almost immediately, allowing third-party toy sellers on the same platform. Toys R Us had outsourced its digital future and watched it be dismantled. In 2004, Toys R Us sued Amazon and won. But 4 years had passed. Amazon was dominant, and there was no e-commerce to fall back on. The Amazon deal didn't cause the collapse, it closed the window. By 2004, Walmart, Target, and Amazon were already operating digital and physical retail at full scale. The company needed capital to renovate stores, rebuild its website, and compete. It did not have it. What it had instead was a leveraged buyout coming. In 2005, KKR, Bain Capital, and Vornado Realty acquired Toys R Us for $6.6 billion in a leveraged buyout. Of the $6.6 billion purchase price, approximately $5.3 billion was financed with debt, placed directly onto Toys R Us's own balance sheet. Annual interest ran to $400 million per year, more than $1 million per day, before a single store opened or a single employee was paid. The plan was to reduce debt through operational cash flow, improve stores, then relist publicly. None of those steps happened in sequence. The debt did not shrink. While Amazon was spending billions on logistics infrastructure and Walmart was expanding its digital operation, Toys R Us's capital was consumed by debt service. There was nothing left to invest. KKR, Bain Capital, and Vornado Realty collected approximately $470 million in management fees and dividends from Toys R Us before the bankruptcy filing. By 2017, Toys R Us still carried $5.1 billion in long-term debt. 12 years after the buyout, the number had barely moved. Chapter 11 filed September 18, 2017. The Chapter 11 filing was presented as a restructuring, not a liquidation. Management expected to renegotiate the debt, stabilize operations, and continue trading. Then the holiday season began. Suppliers, fearing non-payment, cut credit and held shipments. Christmas shelves went thin at the worst possible moment. Customers saw empty shelves and went to Walmart, Target, and Amazon. The revenue needed to prove viability did not arrive. The restructuring ended before it began.
In February 2018, Toys R Us announced it would close or sell all of its approximately 800 U.S. stores. In June 2018, the last stores closed. 33,000 U.S. employees lost their jobs. UK and Australian operations closed separately, adding thousands more. Most received no severance payment. Executives and senior managers at Toys R Us received $16 million in bonuses approved by the bankruptcy court during the same period that severance for workers was denied. After public pressure, KKR, Bain, and Vornado contributed $20 million to a worker relief fund. Across tens of thousands of workers, that is roughly $300 each. Charles Lazarus, the company's founder, died on March 22, 2018, 3 weeks after the liquidation announcement. He was 94. He had watched his company dismantled in its 70th year. In 2019, True Kids Brands attempted to relaunch with a handful of experiential stores. They opened, generated limited traffic, and closed again when the pandemic arrived. In 2022, Toys R Us returned as a shop inside Macy's stores. Geoffrey the Giraffe still exists as licensed IP. The 800 stores do not. Toys R Us was not killed by Amazon or consumer tastes. It was handed to private equity with $5 billion in debt and no capital left to compete. Every failure after 2005, no renovation, no e-commerce, no ability to compete on price, followed directly from having no free cash flow. The debt consumed everything. The firms that structured the deal collected fees throughout. The workers collected nothing when it ended. That asymmetry was not accidental. It was written into the deal. Toys R Us was a generational institution. Its collapse leaves one question open: whether private equity destroying a functioning company is a design flaw or a feature.